Have you ever wondered about the power of hurricanes and the impact they can have on our lives? Hurricanes are a captivating force of nature, both terrifying and awe-inspiring. And when it comes to hurricanes, few can match the power and devastation of Hurricane Ian. Born from the warm waters of the Atlantic, Hurricane Ian began as a subtropical storm. Its initial path was uncertain, swirling with the unpredictability of nature itself. Forecasters watched with bated breath as Ian loomed on the horizon, its trajectory pointing ominously towards the west coast of Florida, particularly Tampa. Now, Tampa is no stranger to the threat of hurricanes, yet incredibly, this coastal city had not received a direct hit from a hurricane in 100 years. The impending arrival of Hurricane Ian was set to change this century-long respite. Residents watched the weather reports with a mix of fear and disbelief. Could this really be happening? As the storm approached, it was clear that Hurricane Ian was growing stronger. It was no longer just a potential threat but a rapidly intensifying hurricane. As it churned over the Atlantic, feeding off the warm waters, it morphed from a Category 1 hurricane into a major Category 3 hurricane in a remarkably short span of time. Tampa Bay was in the direct line of fire, and the risk of life-threatening storm surge, hurricane-force winds, and heavy rainfall was imminent. The path of a hurricane can often be hard to predict, and Hurricane Ian was no exception. Forecast models were in disagreement, creating a cloud of uncertainty. But one thing was clear: no matter the exact path, the effects of this storm would be felt far and wide. The imminent storm brought a sense of urgency and a rush to prepare for the worst. As the storm rapidly strengthened, it was clear that Hurricane Ian was no ordinary storm. It was a force to be reckoned with. And as we'll see in the next scenes, the impact of Hurricane Ian was as devastating as its rapid intensification hinted it would be. Imagine the terror of knowing a Category 4 hurricane is barreling towards your home. This was the stark reality for the residents of Florida as Hurricane Ian made its brutal landfall. Hurricane Ian was not just another tropical storm, it was a phenomenon of nature that brought with it a wave of destruction and despair. As it hit the coast of Florida, it unleashed a fury that left an indelible mark on the landscape and the lives of those in its path. The impact was immediate and extensive. Homes were washed out to sea, buildings smashed to the ground, and lives were tragically lost. The storm claimed at least 45 lives, a grim testament to its devastating power. But the destruction didn't stop at the immediate impact. The aftermath of Hurricane Ian was a landscape of collapsed piers, power outages, and flash flooding. Even after the storm had passed, the danger lingered. Tornadoes were expected in parts of North and South Carolina and Southeast Virginia, adding to the already disastrous effects of the storm. The financial toll was staggering, with estimated insured losses in Florida potentially reaching $47 billion. This was not just a storm, it was a catastrophic event that shook the very foundations of communities and economies. The human toll was even more heartbreaking. Entire communities were left without homes, water, and electricity. Imagine being in the midst of such a disaster, stripped of the basic necessities of life. The suffering was immense, and the recovery process was daunting. The devastation caused by Hurricane Ian was immeasurable, leaving people without homes, water, and electricity. This was the grim reality for many in the aftermath of Hurricane Ian, a storm that will forever be remembered for its wrath and destruction. In the wake of such a disaster, what happens next? The aftermath of Hurricane Ian was a testament to the destructive power of nature, but also to the tenacity of the human spirit. As the storm receded, it left in its wake a landscape forever changed. The immediate dangers posed by Hurricane Ian did not disappear with the storm. Electrified standing water became a silent and invisible threat, a grim reminder of the power outages that had plunged whole communities into darkness. Debris, once parts of homes or businesses, now lay scattered like confetti after a parade, posing risks of injury to those navigating the wreckage. The storm had passed, but its presence was still deeply felt. And yet, amid the devastation, hope emerged. President Joe Biden pledged federal support for Florida's recovery efforts, a beacon of light in the dark aftermath. The promise of assistance was not just about the financial aid, significant as that was. It was a commitment from the highest level of government that the people of Florida would not be forgotten, that they would not face the daunting task of rebuilding alone. In Charlotte County, where many residents were left without homes, water, and electricity, the need for assistance was dire. Yet the spirit of community shone through. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers became friends, and the process of rebuilding began. The aftermath of Hurricane Ian was a harsh reality check, a stark reminder of the impact of natural disasters. But it was also a testament to resilience and recovery. It was a story of people coming together, of communities standing strong in the face of adversity, of the human spirit's indomitable will to survive, and ultimately, thrive. Despite the destruction, the spirit of resilience was evident as communities came together to rebuild and recover. What can we learn from the catastrophic event that was Hurricane Ian? Hurricane Ian, with its devastating impact, has left us with valuable lessons. Among the rubble and remnants, we find a compelling narrative about resilience, preparation, and foresight. Let's delve a bit deeper into these lessons. First and foremost, the importance of preparing for hurricanes cannot be overstated. The severity of Hurricane Ian's impact was a stark reminder of the need to take every possible precaution. As we know, preparation isn't just about securing our homes, it's about understanding the risks, knowing evacuation routes, and having a well-stocked emergency kit. It's about staying informed, following the advice of officials, and taking action when necessary. Now let's talk about mandatory evacuation orders. These are issued for a reason, and should never be taken lightly. During Hurricane Ian, those who heeded these warnings were able to avoid the worst of the storm. This, in itself, is a lesson in trust and obedience to the authorities who have our best interests at heart. Another important takeaway from Hurricane Ian is the necessity of having disaster recovery plans in place. Whether it's the local government or individuals, having a plan can significantly alleviate the aftermath. These plans should be comprehensive, covering everything from immediate response to long-term recovery. They should involve coordinated efforts between different sectors, from healthcare to infrastructure, and prioritize the needs of the most vulnerable. Lastly, we must acknowledge that every disaster brings with it the potential for learning and improvement. The experience of Hurricane Ian provides a wealth of knowledge for future disaster management strategies. It's a chance to analyze what worked, what didn't, and how we can do better next time. In sum, the lessons from Hurricane Ian revolve around three key concepts: preparation, adherence to evacuation orders, and effective disaster recovery planning. By understanding these lessons, we can better equip ourselves for future storms and reduce the damage they inflict. Hurricane Ian was a stark reminder of nature's power and the necessity of preparation and swift action. So, we've taken you on a journey through the life of Hurricane Ian, but what's the take-home message here? We've seen how Hurricane Ian started as a subtropical storm and how it rapidly intensified into a Category 1 hurricane. Its path was uncertain, its intensity fluctuating, but the threat it posed was real and imminent. The west coast of Florida experienced firsthand the ferocity of Ian as it made landfall, bringing with it a life-threatening storm surge, hurricane-force winds, and heavy rainfall. We've delved into the wrath of Ian, underscoring the vast damage it caused. From collapsed piers to power outages, the storm's impact was felt deeply and extensively. Over 45 lives were tragically lost in Florida alone, homes were washed out to sea, and buildings were reduced to rubble. The storm's economic toll was staggering, with insured losses estimated at $47 billion. In the aftermath, we saw how the storm's effects lingered. Dangers persisted in the form of electrified standing water and injury risks from debris. Recovery efforts were launched, with the federal government pledging support, but the road to normalcy was long and arduous for many residents left without homes, water, and electricity. And finally, we've touched upon the lessons learned from Hurricane Ian. The importance of preparedness cannot be overstated. In the face of such powerful natural phenomena, the best defense we have is to respect the power of nature and take necessary precautions. It's crucial to heed warnings, follow evacuation orders, and prepare for the worst, even while hoping for the best. As we reflect on the events of Hurricane Ian, remember that understanding and respecting the power of nature is crucial. Stay safe and stay prepared. Thank you for watching.